Aló, aló, bienvenidos and welcome back to Super Caliente, the community that brands, the podcast. We talk about all things hot, todo picoso, todo caliente. Yes, you get all of that right here. Now, a lot of you may be wondering, Sonia, where have you been? All right. Well, y'all, me and my husband just made a huge move. We went from New Jersey to South Carolina. Truly a move that I was not expecting, but it had to happen. And in that time as well, just the move, trying to get settled in, furniture, everything that came with it. We also met family members. And that may sound a little crazy to some, but no, we were able to meet. By the grace of God, we were able to meet family members that I've only heard of, family members that I have not seen since I was a baby. You know, los tíos que te dicen like, oh yeah, I held you when you were a baby? Yeah, them. And the other thing that was really beautiful about that was that I was also able to complete a story in my head that I've always wanted to know about. A lot of information from how I came to the United States I felt was like missing from me. And when that family came over, I was able to complete that story. So that meant a lot. I'm not going to share it with y'all because I don't want it to incriminate any of us. But the other thing as well was my mom was able to see her siblings after 25 plus years. And that brings me to today's title, which is Familismo, which is a term that I don't think I've ever heard of. Familismo, like it seems very bilingual. It seems very like new. But what it means is it's a core value in the Hispanic family dynamic that emphasizes strong family ties, loyalty, and mutual support, often extending beyond immediate family members to include extended family. And what I truly love about that statement is that it considers people outside of the immediate family. It's not just your tias and your tios that are blood related, but those tios and tias that are really like your family, your mom's friend that they've known for a long time, but they took care of you and they take care of you and they still are, a part of your life. And I think that means so much because so much and so often, like, and sorry if I butcher her name, if it's Itachi or Itati, but she went viral because she called out her prima. And I am so like that. I have no problem doing that. Heck, I have a madrina that has me blocked right now, and that's super caliente. That was an early one. That was an early my production assistant is laughing. That was an early super caliente. But having that family extend beyond the immediate blood related family means a lot. Because these are people that you consider family and has made themselves family not by blood, but by their presence, by how they have shown up for your child, how have they shown up for you. Which brings me into the close-knit communities. So I feel like this is something that is missing nowadays, but growing up, it meant that there were people around you, whether it was your neighbors, just that community, that made contributions to your family. Whether small or big, they were able to support you in however shape or form that they could. And in the way that the neighborhood that I grew up in Atlanta, supported each other was a lot of us were kids. A lot of us were about the same age group, which was kind of it was lucky of us, honestly, because everybody knew each other. All of the parents, whether if they didn't know your name, if they didn't know your parents' name, they knew where you lived and they knew what they looked like. So they knew what child belonged to what parent. And it became one of those things where if you go outside and play, you're going to act the same way in front of somebody's parent, the same way that you would act in front of yours. Because I know for a fact, if I would not misbehave if my mom was outside watching me play. So when somebody else's parent was outside watching them play, I'm acting just as well. And there were some kids, obviously, that were still acting up however they wanted to, but, occasionally my mom, I would have a curfew and I would be like, oh, but Juanita's mom let her play until 9 o'clock. And then she would just hit me with the Juanita's mom doesn't care about her. But besides that, it was very supportive. And there was an instance, probably the perfect instance for this was when I'm in Atlanta, so we call them crackheads. Sorry. They would come in the neighborhood and just be acting weird. And we're little kids, so we're scared, and we would run into somebody's house. It would be like 10 kids in one house. And their mom would make us sandwiches. Their mom would give us something to drink. And my mom would obviously warn me, like, don't go into strangers' houses. But it was like, we were scared. And that person's parent was just so welcoming of all of us that it was like, all right, y'all are safe here. It's okay. So that sense of comunidad and that sense of support that they gave us unknowingly to our parents, it meant a big deal to us. And that close-knit community is, I would assume, is why that falls under familismo, because those close-knit communities become our families. You know, we watch for each other. And speaking of watching out for each other, that brings us to the next thing. So it goes without saying that Hispanic families are huge. My family is humongous. On my dad's side, I think it's 11, maybe it's 8. On my mom's side, I'm pretty sure it's over 8 kids. So just that all trickles down, you know? It's a huge family, especially when you're hearing every week that you have another tia, another tío. But besides that, the multi-generational household is one that is most likely, I believe, like 60%, if not a little more, of the Hispanic household is multi-generational, which means that all the generations reside together. So tu abuelito, tu abuelita, tu mamá, you and your child, if that's the position in life that you're in, you would all live together. And we're not, I mean, comfortably, hopefully not in a 1-bedroom apartment in New York. No tea, no shade. That's super caliente too. Oh my God, I'm 2 for 2. I'm 2 for 2. But it's all of you living and residing together. And I know so many people are going to be like, ew, why would you want to live with all those people? There's a pros and cons, obviously, to anything. But if this is going to be a shocker to a lot of Americans, yeah, Hispanic people don't kick their children out. At least the majority of them. We don't kick our children out after they turn 18. We, let them live wherever with us until they feel comfortable to leave. They will never kick you out. And I personally think that is a beautiful thing, simply because you don't stop being somebody's child. I know so many instances in American families where, you're 18, specifically with males. Once you're 18, you gotta get up out of here. And it puts that child, if they're not matured enough, if you just let them be on their own, if they are not matured enough and they're on their own, they're lost. And there are oftentimes so many parents that, once that child is gone, that's on them. No. Not in the Hispanic household. And the reason for that is because of tradition, because of core values. And the reason for these multi-generational households is because, everybody is helping each other at the end of the day. Everybody is able to contribute, and parents helping other parents. It's just like my parents would be helping their parents, and they would be able to help guide me. And that also brings me to the next, which is respect your elders. But that foundation, your grandparents, the older people are our foundation. Simply because obviously they have more knowledge, obviously they have more advice to give us, but they really hold the family together. And with those core values of respecting our elders, it's because they are the reason why we're all here. And with today's society, and especially when you talk about gender roles and you talk about tradition, the elders are going to be the ones that really make sure that the core values, the core traditions are being followed. And obviously you have your newer generations that are like, no, así no se hacen ya, like, eso ya es antiguo, like, but you have to show some respect. And I had to learn this kind of the hard way, because I have ran into elders in the family where I'm like, why would you say that? Why would you think that? Why would you do that? But you have to kind of comprehend that sometimes when you lived a long life, when you lived a long life and you lived a life where your belief was the one thing constantly, and you've gotten to an age now where you're just tired and you're resting, you can't change that. It's like you can't show a old dog new tricks. It's kind of that belief. But all you can do is respect the fact that they're the reason that you're here, that they're the reason why there is a certain foundation in your family. There's a reason why you're still following tradition, because of them, because they have made sure to keep those in there, to keep those traditions, to keep those values in there. So you have to respect that at least. Tu abuelita is not gonna know que es un Latinx. ¿Qué es eso? Latinx, ¿qué es eso? Like, suena como una bicicleta. ¿Qué es un Latinx? So they're not gonna understand that. But what we can do is respect them and use their beliefs, at least the beliefs that we can agree on, strengthen those beliefs and keep those traditions going. So, celebration and traditions. So, Hispanic families, we obviously place a high value on just cultural traditions, celebrations, whether it's holidays, quinceañeras, how we do bodas, how we do party, just any events that can strengthen our family bond, and our cultural identity, which is like we think that it has nothing to do with our cultural identity. But I will tell you this, from being in college, from being at a college, university in Delaware, where the Hispanic community is very, very small, where there is barely any Hispanic food, restaurants, grocery stores, even food items at the grocery stores. From being there for 4 years to where I'm at now, I will tell you that I needed to be where I'm at now. I definitely lost the sense of who I was, and I shared this when I mentioned creating my podcast. I created my podcast my freshman year. Obviously, I still had a little sazon still stuck on me, but then you add 3 more years to that, and it's like, where do I fall in my representation? Where do I fall as a Mexican immigrant woman, or whatever, wherever you fall into in the Hispanic Latin community? It becomes a struggle, because it's like, all right, well, I know I'm this, but right now I'm this. But 2 things can exist at one time. You just have to find the perfect balance for you. And those traditions, like, when I started missing, because of college, I started missing Christmases. I missed posadas. I missed, La Noche Buena. I missed a lot of stuff. I missed a lot of tradition. I've missed a lot of quinceañeras. I've missed a lot of parties that could have helped with my identity, or at least make me feel like it's not missing. So now when I'm now back home, and I've gone to, my sister had a quinceañera. My cousin had a very Mexican traditional wedding. So now going to those events, I feel more like, okay, I'm getting it back. I had to burp. But yeah, I feel like I'm getting it back. And it's not that it went anywhere, which is what I've said before in the Yo No Sabo episode, was like, my culture is not something I'm ashamed of. It's not that I try to forget it. It's just sometimes, especially when you're battling this Americanization thing, it's like it becomes a lot harder because you're constantly code switching. And so keeping up with those traditions, keeping up with those values is always helpful. And that's why we go so hard at parties, I think. You know, a baby is born, you got the 40 días. And then after that, the first birthday party. And then if you want to have more birthday parties, but then you have a bautizo, presentación, whatever you want to call it. And then you have some birthdays. And you have the quinceañera if she's a girl. And then you have a boda. And then if you want to keep it going, you renew your vows, you have a party. It's ongoing. And in those parties, it's needless to say that Hispanics are the best parties. Needless to say. But it's more than just a party. It's the tradition. It's the value. It's tightening our family bond, because usually our family is there. Tightening and strengthening the bond that we have with our friends, our families, whoever the case may be, because that's who and what we hold so high up in our lives. And I definitely feel like, for me, it's what I value the most now. I used to want to just be outside. Yep, I'm outside. And there's a little part of me that is still like that. But to me, the idea of family, familismo, and holding them in my heart tighter and checking up on them and constantly being with them just means so much more to me at this age, at the ripe age of 22. But with that, we do have some challenges. And obviously it's acculturation. We have to be able to balance preserving our culture, but also adapting to, where we're at, adapting to the changes of society, adapting to the fact that, our family members are different, and being able to process it. Because sometimes it can be too quick. Sometimes, even the bilingualism, the language can sometimes become a barrier. But you're able to still be in a house, be in a group with people who still value the same things that you do. And it's important to continue to preserve our culture. It's important for us to continue to strengthen it, because it can cause tension. And I will say this too, because what my aunt thinks is, oh, you're too American. Like, I've been here my entire life. What do you think? What do you expect me to do? Because for all of that, we could have stayed in Mexico. But it's accepting it, that this is where we're at now. This can be true and that can be true. Two things can coexist at one time, and I think society needs to get a bigger grasp on that. And obviously there are more dynamics that can vary between different individuals. I'm just speaking on the main ones. I'm speaking on the familismo that we will mostly see in a Hispanic Mexican household. So tell me what you guys think. Do you agree with familismo? Do you think that the core values are important, or do you think that they should change? I don't know. A very informative Super Caliente episode. But nonetheless, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.